Good afternoon, distinguished guests, colleagues, and partners. Thank you for joining us for today's deep dive workshop on intelligent energy, how AI is powering Asia's secure and resilient clean energy future. This session, co-organized by Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore, Alliance for Renewable Electrification, and Asian Development Bank, brings together perspectives from development institutions, industry, and finance on how artificial intelligence is shaping energy systems across Asia and the Pacific. My name is Lindri Malang from Asian Development Bank, and I will be your MC for this session. To open our program, may I invite our distinguished speakers to deliver their welcome remarks. First, from Asian Development Bank, Energy Sector Office, Director of Southeast Asia and the Pacific. Let's all welcome to the stage Keiju Mitsuhashi.
Okay, good afternoon, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Asian Development Bank, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this deep dive session on intelligent energy. How artificial intelligence is powering Asia's secure and resilient clean energy future. I'm delighted to welcome our distinguished panelists and all of you to this ACEF 2026 and ADB headquarters in Manila. Today's discussion is timely and built on the long-standing partnership with both the Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore and Alliance for Renewable Energy in advancing innovative technologies in the energy sector across Asia and the Pacific. AI is increasingly seen as one of the most powerful enablers for energy transition. 3 items. At the planning level, it enhances renewable energy forecasting, allowing systems to better anticipate variability in sources such as wind and solar. At the operational level, AI optimizes real-time grid management through predictive maintenance, reducing outages, and improving system reliability. And third, at the demand level, AI facilitates the efficient integration of distributed energy resources, including rooftop solar, battery storage, and electrical vehicles, helping shift power system from centralized models towards more flexible, resilient, and consumer-centric energy ecosystems. Recognizing the importance of regional integration and the role of data, just last month, ADB President Kanda made 2 major announcements. One, the Pan-Asia Power Grid Initiative that aims to connect national and sub-regional power systems to facilitate cross-border electricity trade, improve energy security, and accelerate energy transition. And 2, the Asia-Pacific Digital Highway Initiative. And this will help close the digital infrastructure gap and enable the region to benefit from AI-driven growth. These initiatives envision a total of $70 billion investment in the new energy and the digital infrastructure by 2035, aiming to connect power grids, expand cross-border electricity trade, and improve broadband access across Asia and the Pacific. This announcement aligns well with the fact that the Asian Pacific region is reportedly the fastest growing region for generative AI use. As of today, over $50 billion is invested in AI-ready data centers and cloud infrastructure in the region. There's no doubt that AI technology is moving into corporate operation very rapidly, and question we should address is how do we integrate AI safely and effectively into energy sector to ensure both the national and regional energy security? To address this, we must work together with the government, utilities, researchers, and financiers and the private sector. And this is to develop robust AI policy and governance framework. Number two, ensure efficient energy use. And number three, embed the cybersecurity. As countries integrate energy-intensive data centers, critical for AI and cloud computing, into their power grid, we must collaborate and make sure it's done without compromising access, affordability, sustainability, supply reliability for households and small businesses. I look forward to today's discussion with our AI front runners in the region. We will explore key issues around the policies and financing, and most importantly, discuss opportunities for collaboration. Strong partnerships among the governments, financiers, industries, and other stakeholders will be essential to unlock the full potential of AI in the energy sector. Once again, thank you for joining us today. And then this is my opening remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keju. And now we'll hear from Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore Council Member Sandra Sia.
I usually vault up the stage. I'm so happy to be here. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and privilege to welcome you to today's deep dive session. You have to get through this speech first, but we'll get through the session quite quickly. Right, I would like to extend our warmest welcome to our partners from ADB and RE, which you know is Alliance for Renewable Electrification. Our esteemed speakers, they're all up front, distinguished guests, and all participants who are joining us here today. So SEAS, myself, I'm from Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore. It's quite a mouthful and we shorten it to SEAS. SEAS is really honored to organize this workshop as part of the ACEF, Asian Clean Energy Forum, and is in collaboration with ADB and RE. Today's session brings together technology providers, industry leaders, and energy practitioners to exchange insights on AI and how AI is being applied across the energy sector to strengthen our energy security, improve our operational performance, and support, of course, the global decarbonization efforts across the region. I just wanted to spend a few quick moments sharing with you something about SEAS. This is an association I've already joined for 18 years, so I'm really passionate about it. Now, first of all, we started 20 years ago, so that's quite a milestone. We are a non-profit industry association and we are industry-led. So we bring together stakeholders from across the entire clean energy ecosystem, not just in Singapore, but in the region. So the key topics that we cover will be what you are all familiar with. We have renewable energy, energy efficiency, sustainable finance, hydrogen, carbon, e-mobility, and storage, and many more. So since our founding in 2006, that's quite a long while ago, we have worked closely with government agencies, multilateral organizations, and private sector partners to drive the transition to a low carbon economy. Through SEAS, we have engaged our members, the industry, and of course, governments on a wide range of activities. I would like to say that actually no one is left behind. As long as someone is willing to learn about the industry, and this is the power sector that we're also passionate about, they will not be left behind if they join our association. So what do we have? We have committee meetings, we have work groups, we have networking sessions, we have roundtables, we put up white papers, we have dialogues, with government agencies, not just in Singapore, but from afar, because we like to learn from friends. We have business missions, like I'm part of a business mission now. We have brought all our delegates from Singapore. Hopefully you will interact with them. And also we have social events, and we have things like beach cleanups. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but it serves a CSR purpose. On training, we are very, very proud that we have deeply engaged from a very, very early day, from the early days on building capacity and skills in the sustainable energy sector. And this has been a strong pillar for our association since its inception. So far, and the numbers are great, we have trained over 1,400 professionals under SCEM, which is the Singapore Certified Energy Manager Program. And we have delivered over 18,000 training placements, and we have built a strong base of more than 40 trainers and 70 customized programs. So we are very proud of this legacy. With the growing demand for green jobs in Singapore and many regional countries, we will continue our efforts to provide training in both the established areas as well as upcoming areas. So that's our promise to our members. Now, just another area we have to mention is SECOE. So this is the Sustainable Energy Centre of Excellence, or SECOE. It's a partnership that SEAS forged with ADB and Enterprise Singapore, which is a government agency, in 2015. And this has the aim of equipping our policymakers in the whole region with information and shared experience in matters of policy, technology, and project financing. So to date, we have trained, also a staggering number, 1,800 individuals from 57 countries since SECOE started in 2015. I cannot but hold a plug for our flagship program, which is ACES, Asia Clean Energy Summit. So this is another key initiative that reflects SEA's regional leadership in the area of clean energy. So what we provide at ACES is energy, clean energy thought leadership, technology, as well as partnership development. This is held annually in Singapore as part of SIU, or Singapore International Energy Week. So please do come, take out your calendars now. The date is 27th to 29th of October this year. There will be policymakers, industry leaders, as well as government agencies from around the region, and it's usually a hotbed for ideas and collaborative opportunities. One more part I have to talk about, which is DigiLeap. We also have DigiLeap. I'm beginning to feel very proud of SEAS because we have so many programs. At SEAS, we strongly encourage, the use of digital technologies, and we recognize the role that digitalization and AI will play in supporting our sustainable future. So we have been taking active steps to foster innovation and collaboration within the ecosystem. In line with this vision, SEAS launched DigiLeap in 2024. This is Singapore's pioneering digital platform engineered to synergize the sustainability ecosystem through a comprehensive digital marketplace. DigiLeap is actually more than just a platform. It is a meeting point and a beacon of innovation within Singapore's green economy. What we are trying to do with our DigiLeap platform is to unify stakeholders, catalyze sustainable change across the ecosystem, and hopefully, we hope that it's a place where green ideas will become green action, and that collaboration will lead to meaningful impact. So today's workshop, please stay until the end, reflects this same spirit of collaboration and innovation. And it is our aspiration that this workshop, bringing together so many of you from different parts of the region, will provide a meaningful platform for knowledge sharing, collaboration, and practical discussion. So I would like to wish you a very fruitful deep dive workshop ahead. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Your enthusiasm is very infectious. And now we hear opening remarks from another partner, Alliance for Renewable Electrification. Let's all welcome to the stage Director of Policy and Business Development, Jens Jaeger.
I also have to run, otherwise I don't follow the footsteps of Sandra. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. It's great to see such a crowd in an afternoon session. So thank you. great that you could join us, and thank you to ADB and SEAS for inviting us to be partners of this workshop. So briefly about ARE, and then I will say a few words about how this topic matters to us as well. So ARE, we're a global business association. We unite renewable energy companies worldwide that work on electrification of households, businesses, industry, social infrastructure, and also contributing to integrate renewables in the grid. We were founded in 2006, so we are quite similar in age and type of association as well to SEAS, just with the difference that we are global. If we can just show the next slide, we have also a visual of our membership. So we have 170 members worldwide. A lot of them are also active in the ASEAN region. That membership represents about 57 billion euros of turnover. So that is investors in renewables, it is developers, and it is OEMs, so manufacturers and technology providers. We represent, so we have our member constituency, and then we have, thank you very much, and then we have also a broader constituency, which includes demand-side companies, so companies that are looking to electrify their operations. And we also partner with public sector partners such as ADB in Africa, African Development Bank, World Bank, EU, and so forth, that share the same objective as ARE. The membership, as I mentioned, are in different categories. So there are EPCs, developers, tech suppliers, IPPs, financiers, and also some associate members that are typically NGOs or consultancies. We have a 3-pillar strategy. So some of you that knows AREs from the past may have noticed a slight name change. So we have changed name in April from ARE to ARE. Basically, we were used to be known as the Alliance for Rural Electrification, which has now become renewable, and that is a reflection of the work of our members. So previously, most of our members only worked on energy access, and now we have a growing membership also in commercial, industrial, electrification, and grid and utility support from private sector. What makes us unique as ARE is that we are technology agnostic. We are focusing specifically on developing countries. We also look at different system sizes, so from mini grids to grid scale. And then we have a presence in sub-Saharan Africa as well as Asia Pacific and Latin America. We can quickly, in the interest of time, scoot through this. We offer 4 types of services to the members. It's business development support, it is capacity building, it's market development, which is essentially policy and advocacy, and then it's communication and marketing. Now for the topic today, of course, intelligent energy, both software, hardware, it's extremely important. So with increasing complexity of integration of variable renewable energy sources in the grid, obviously this leads to some risks as well. There are operational risks, but also digital cyber security risks, for example. And I think a lot of the presentations we will hear today address various parts of these risks and opportunities for improvement. So it's a bit, whether you see the glass half full or half empty, AI solutions, digital solutions provide for room to address those. Just a glance of which of our members work in this space. So it's quite a lot of our members that are in digital and AI solutions, actually. Here you have a small snapshot, and I'm happy to share, of course, the slides with anyone interested afterwards. Lastly, just an example. Again, we don't want to we want to take from the example of SEAS as well, so I'll just share one program that we have, which is the digital energy facility that we're working with our partners in the French development agency AFD and the European Union, which is a program that provides grants and equity to digital solution providers in Africa, actually. And so I think what I have as a not so secret objective here is also to say, okay, let's bring this to ASEAN as well, where the need is just as big. So this is a program where we provide grants for energy companies that digital solutions for energy, but we think we should also provide energy solutions for digital telecom and data centers and so on. I'll stop there, and then let's, of course, wish everyone a great session. Looking forward to the presentations, but I know there is a small point before that we would like to formalize the long-standing collaboration with SEAS. So I'll let Lindri present that one second.
Okay, thank you. Thanks once again to Keju, Sandra, and to Jens for setting the stage for today's discussion. And we now proceed to the Memorandum of Understanding signing between the Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore and the Alliance for Renewable Electrification. Thank you and congratulations on this important partnership. Please bear with us for a while as we change, quickly change the setup. We now begin our keynote sessions. Our first keynote explores enabling AI implementation in the energy sector across Asia and the Pacific, focusing on the policies, regulatory frameworks, and investments needed to scale intelligent energy systems. Presenting on enabling AI implementation in the energy sector across Asia and the Pacific. From Asian Development Bank, Senior Energy Specialist for Smart Energy Systems. Let's welcome to the stage, Jamila Amodeo.
Thank you so much, Lindri. Thank you for a great welcoming remarks to all our distinguished guests, and congratulations on the MOU. With this, I wanted to ask you to pull out your Hoover app and see if you can answer this poll which was posted about it, and see if you can answer it. So. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. While you're answering, I will share with you some facts. Over the past 2 days, we've heard that AI is a great enabler. Did you know that we actually have numbers? And as you can see, average return on investment on AI and energy is 170%, according to IEA from 2025. Predictive maintenance delivers 200 to 300% return on investment, according to the Siemens and Vattenfall data. Renewable forecasting accuracy has improved 15 to 30%. 65% of AI budgets are spent on operational technology, data engineering. So this is a significant thing. In the energy sector, this is the data. 71% of pilots, unfortunately, get stuck before production, highlighting the challenges of implementation. AI adoption rate is only 33%, according to IEA 2025. So now I would like to know what the poll says are the reasons for this number. So according to our 61 answers, 34 quote, lack of policy governance and standards. Second comes increased cybersecurity vulnerability risk. 24, distrust of AI-generated recommendations. Then it's followed by a lack of AI talent, limited data availability, lack of corporate policies, and limited budget. And the other one had one answer, so somebody picked other. I would love to know what it is. No, seriously, I think it would be interesting to know what are the reasons why AI is not being adopted in the energy sector. So am I going? With that, I would like to go back to the reason why we are working on this. ADB is a regional influencer on making sure that we address we help our partner countries address energy security, resilience, universal energy access, making sure that it's reliable, affordable for all. And while being low carbon, including that now we can ensure that it's sustainable environmentally. Now since 2025, you've heard already our leadership mention that we're including nuclear energy, methane emissions, and critical minerals. I will not spend too much time on this slide, but you already know all the successes of ADB. Sorry, I skipped one slide. So what is the projection of AI in Asia and Pacific? And according to, again, all the resources that are available, legitimate resources, there's a regional increase of economic output over the next decade at 14.7%. Estimated largest share of AI-driven economic value generated by AI is expected to be 40% of 11 trillion global market. So these numbers are quite impressive for the region. But then we look at the AI Preparedness Index, which was developed by ADB using resources which doing analysis of the studies that were done on it. And it included digital infrastructure, regulations and ethics, human capital, labor market policies, innovation, and economic integration. When you look in the more granular data, you can see that actually some countries in Asia and Pacific are ahead in their AI Preparedness Index. They're quite advanced, while others are not, specifically DAP, Developing Asia and the Pacific. So why is it? That's the question. How can we enable it? So it's probably everybody knows, I didn't need to put anything, but this is just nice illustration that we're going from one-directional energy systems to multi-directional energy systems. And the role of artificial intelligence is incredible. What we see on the left is a traditional legacy system. We're transitioning to modern energy system that is flexible, responsive, democratic, enables everybody to participate in the power sector. And they're standards, but they're developing very, very slowly. They're international standards, ISO standards that started in 2023. They're still in progress. I will not go through the whole list here. and there are also regional standards. ASEAN is has developed guide on AI governance and ethics. EU has its own act, which is still in progress until 2027. NIST has AI risk management framework, and so on, so on. I just want to say that there are governance standards in progress, but there's no, actually, but there's no standards on energy specifically for AI. That's something that I would like to note. That when we talk about standards, we are talking about either energy standards, industry standards, or AI specific standards, but there's nothing on combined energy and AI. So, and three regulatory models exist that where China has strong regulation, principle-based regulation comes from Japan and ASEAN, and hybrid risk-based comes from Korea, Singapore, India. So with that, I would like to say that the key enabler for all these systems for AI integration is data management. And I don't need to repeat it. Everybody was talking about the role of data. And here's just a generic graph that I found from ScienceDirect that demonstrates what kind of data is needed in order for us to enable AI use successfully. The most important thing, I think, is actually having an understanding of what assets are operating on the energy system and what data is being exchanged, which data is being shared among those assets and with the outside world. And for that, I would like to note that one of the key things that I see is important is having digital architecture, understanding what is the digital architecture of an enterprise, how it operates, and to ensure that we have quality data and interoperability. Well, I have only 1 minute left, so I will jump to my next slide. It was mentioned cybersecurity is important, critical infrastructure, which is 24 hours, 7 days a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, requires precise balancing of supply, generation, and demand. And we have very little space for mistakes. And the biggest reason for cybersecurity challenge is convergence of informational technology with operational technology. This slide is from our colleagues from Dragos. If you listen to previous presentation, you probably recognize this slide because it presents beautifully the level of demilitarized zone where OT and IT converge. This brings me to my last slide, where I would like to emphasize that we need to have all these components, building blocks for safe and trusted AI in energy, starting with business strategy for enterprise, national policy standards, data platform, AI talent, cybersecurity, institutional leadership, corporate governance, investments, pilots that can be scaled up, and which will together be components of the AI roadmap. Just to illustrate that ADB is moving forward along with our partners on testing pilots with AI, I just brought 3 examples here to your attention. One is in Bangladesh, which is designed for artificial intelligence enhanced distribution grids for sustainability and resilience, $1 million. The next one is Sri Lanka for microgrids to enable futuristic and reliable distributed energy systems, and Bhutan for smart and green grid, 1.5 million. So we will be studying, we'll be working on these pilots together with our member states, and welcome your participation. This is just a closing remark that I think all these projects that we will be working on AI will be contributing, will become part of the regional energy and digital initiatives that Keiju mentioned and you've heard over the past 2 days. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamila, for sharing your insights on enabling AI in energy systems and sharing about ADB's initiatives in this space. Our next keynote looks at how AI is helping electricity utilities become smarter, cleaner, and more resilient. Please join me in welcoming from IBM Strategic Engagements Leader, Arun Biswas.
Good afternoon. My name is Arun, and I will be taking a different perspective to this discussion. I'm a practitioner. I implement AI systems. I implement systems for enterprises, for institutions, for industries. So I think the problem statement is quite well known. You have been hearing about it for the last 2 days and also today. The grid is becoming more complex. Operating complexity is the biggest issue. And the question I'm going to address today is that how can AI address this issue of operating complexity while at the same time making sure that we are meeting the objectives of affordability, sustainability, as well as reliability. Now, most of the grids we have in our region are facing this challenge at the same time. They need to expand both physically and digitally, and they need to decarbonize, and they need to become more reliable. I think the previous speaker spoke about this change from one energy system to the other. And this is quite real and quite problematic because the old grid, the traditional grid was centralized, was unidirectional, and a lot of parameters in that grid were controllable. You could manage them. But the emerging grid is bidirectional. It is distributed. There are a lot of variables which it becomes very difficult to manage. So AI is not just a fashionable statement, and it's not just a new kind of fad here. If you think about it, what's happening is that you're moving from deterministic systems to probabilistic systems. And the current traditional tools and ways of working just can't handle that. So that's where I think AI comes in. To make it more real, where do we see the real application of AI? It's not just in one area. I see AI as more an intelligence layer. And for utilities, it's really addressing 4 key functions. First is forecasting. It allows you to forecast better. Forecast demand, forecast supply, forecast risks. It allows you to optimize better. You can optimize your assets. You can optimize your maintenance. It allows you to orchestrate a lot of distributed assets, solar, wind, batteries, all of this. And more importantly, it allows you to respond quicker. And this response becomes very important in the context of response to, let's say, outages, storms, weather events, etc. But increasingly, things like cyber attacks. Now, we carried out a study of utilities last year, and we found that 40% of them were already using AI. And for areas like grid monitoring, there was a plan to expand from only 26% using AI to about 98% using AI by 2028. So this is quite real. And the role which AI is playing is not just automation, but transformation at scale. And the same study showed us that 3 areas where AI is being used most: reliability, grid performance, and business performance. Areas like, it's actually helping us already improve grid uptime. It's helping us improve forecasting accuracy. Right now, I'm working with an Australian grid where we are using about 3,000 machine learning models to improve the accuracy of forecasting. And I'm already seeing about 30 to 40% improvement in the accuracy, as well as, it used to take us months to develop these forecasts. We are now able to do it in weeks. So the time is also getting compressed. On the business performance side, energy efficiency, operational cost. We are seeing improvements in all of these areas. And these areas matter to boards, to shareholders, to customers, to other constituents and stakeholders. I'll give you now 3 examples to bring this to life. This one is the energy systems operator in Great Britain. Now, the British grid and the British balancing system was traditional, largely based on fossil fuels, and it's changing now. And because of the change, the balancing system is under pressure. The old balancing system doesn't work. And this is where AI comes in. So we are partnering with NESO to create a new AI-powered open balancing system, which can orchestrate these flexible assets much better. And you can see the results. 90% reduction in user input, more than 37,000 metric tons of CO2 saved, and more importantly, consumers are getting the benefit. So this is one example which shows you that it's not just adding renewable capacity, but how you balance the grid becomes much more important, and that's where AI starts playing a role. This one is from South Australia. And as many of you know, renewable rich region. And this is where they are putting up an AI-powered virtual power plant. And if you again look at the metrics here, 50,000 consumers covered, almost half a gigawatt of capacity. We are almost starting to reach a conventional power plant kind of capacity. So AI has the ability to orchestrate distributed resources. This is important because the role of the utility is changing from an operator of assets to becoming an orchestrator of distributed assets. It's a big fundamental change, and we'll see this more and more happening in our region as we get more penetration of distributed systems. Finally, and this is an example, it's a forward-looking example. So far, AI application in utilities has been in point areas, in smaller, let's say more narrower functions like predictive maintenance or forecasting and so on. What we are now working on is a true intelligence layer which encompasses the entire grid. And that is the Grid FM program, the Grid Foundation Model program. We are trying to create an AI foundation model that encapsulates the entire behavior and data of a grid. And then we can use it for different purposes. So we are working with multiple utilities as well as research institutions on this project. It will be an open source project. So the results of this will be available to everybody to use. And you can think of it as an large AI foundation model which ingests all kind of data from within the grid and outside the grid. And you can then use it to do multiple use cases, not just a single use case. It's almost like a ChatGPT for a grid. Now, the key issue is that despite all of this technical feasibility, AI adoption is still a challenge. And I think all of you understand why that is the case. There are 4 groups of obstacles which utilities typically face. I mean, we know about data in systems. Trust and safety in AI systems is also an issue. Skills and talent in this region is a huge problem. We just don't have enough skills in AI, in data, in digital, as well as people who understand both utility systems as well as all of these. And finally, governance and value tracking. So we don't need more AI models, we need more AI operating models. And this is where I want to give you the confidence that can be done. And within IBM, we have managed to scale AI across all of IBM. We've managed to implement it across 70 different workflows in our operations and actually get a lot of savings, $4.5 billion. And why is this relevant for a utility? I think the lesson is how do you scale AI? And the important point here is that in order to scale AI, you just don't need technology, you also need the operating models. So I would like to end with where I started. Hopefully by now you have seen how AI can actually really help utilities in becoming an intelligent utility, and also perhaps help us orchestrate and build energy systems that are not only clean and smart, but also resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun, for sharing practical perspectives on scaling AI in utility operations. Our third keynote focuses on intelligent emissions monitoring, and how real-time carbon data is transforming accountability and decision-making. Please welcome from Enercon Asia, Chairman Azhar Othman.
Right, thank you, everyone. First and foremost, I'd just like to touch a bit about the background that our company involves so that you understand better. We are a power system integrator, customized power system integrator. And in the context of energy management, energy efficiency, renewable energy, and we've done about 3,000 projects across 20 countries. And the end user includes Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Intel, Coca-Cola, and so on. And these topics are quite difficult to touch upon. And I'm trying my best to see how I can justify the discussion we're going to move forward to. And at the same time, as a practitioner, we do practice in terms of later on the slides you see that we deployed what I call this platform for carbon emission tracking as well. So hopefully I can explain what we try to achieve as well. Of course, looking at the traditional ways are doing, which is still happening right now, when we are collecting data, especially the fact that we do REC as well. If you know, REC is a renewable energy credit, and we are authorized to do for IRAC and Tiger, and we help company to submit their RECs, and it's quite a challenge because there's a lot of documentation needed. For example, your utility bill, your documentation of consumption, your drawings, your commissioning, and so on. And what we found out that as much as IRAC and Tiger are quite familiar to some of you, the gathering of document is very laborious. And this is something that's happening right now. And we try to, of course, bring it down so that regulators, investors can of course look into how this can be evaluated in their investment, all right? And allow cross-border, carbon adjustment. These are things that's happening right now. And deploying technology to ensure that we get the right data is another part that we have to be very, very careful, all right? Because the IoT sensor that you put across, and we've done a lot of energy audit, just to let you know, and trying to collect data on the sensors that's already been deployed. We did one with AirAsia. And what we found out that if the sensor is wrong, your data is going to be all wrong, right? So do understand, it's not about deploying IoT and AI to get the data, but at the same time to look at the whole ecosystem, right? So the whole idea was to be able to, get all this data and have accountability. The challenge is whether the data is trustworthy as well. Even with IoT is implemented, even AI is implemented. So the deeper we go into the system, the more we realize there's a lot of things we have to check upon check and so on, right? And of course, you come back to how can we make the ecosystem very strong, right? So you can see here, apart from the IoT, that you must make sure the accuracy, the tolerance, the ability to transcend data back to your dashboard. From that data that you collected, then you can use AI to enhance your analysis. Then you can create a digital twin that you can simulate. You can of course do a certain kind of forecast and of course prediction as well. right? So we've been doing this for quite some time, and that's why we come across this issue. We involved in AI as well. We involved in blockchain as well. So by the time we get into it, then we realize how important every aspect of the sensors, the equipment, the data analysis, all that must come into play. Now, it's critical for those who are in this field able to detect the problem that AI generated. Because AI take the prompt or the data as it is and then try to, of course, generate the best way possible. And I think until the learning has become very strong, the wisdom from the engineers who are involved in this industry plays a major role. I just want to kind of put that across, right? Of course, going into the carbon emission reporting, scope 1, 2, and 3. I think some of you knows about this. I don't want to go into detail, to track the scope 1 kind of reporting in terms of boilers, in terms of consumption, scope 2 in terms of indirect energy generation, and scope 3 where the value chain come into play. We do have that as well in our platform. However, to track the data is not easy. It's very difficult, right? And especially if the data are input by human, right? So there's an error can happen in doing so as well. So come back to, I think the IoT come into play to ensure the IoT is right, then the data can be right from there. I put this up to showcase the projects we have done, microgrid solutions. This is a full-blown scale that we have deployed in Pakistan, in other countries as well, to show that how the generation to controls to load and every function of sensors plays a part so that we can generate the best amount of power. Is it from grid or is it from solar, from genset, from BESS or from wind? Now, if you do it carefully, you can select the best possible power based on clean energy and based on price as well. And this is how I think real deployment come into play, right? And to do this, take a lot of understanding how this functions. So we did one project. We are quite proud of it that we're able to generate the best power to our clients. And of course, once you go to the system, now if you look at the power generation and then goes back to the load consumption, that's where another set of assessment have to be done so that the load consumed will be very efficient. So this is where we are looking at from generation, being efficient in generation and being efficient in consumption. When you do that well, automatically your carbon start to drop. So I hope to put that across. This is the project we did, a real-time positioning that we have designed and deployed, and we have took into account all the different sources of power. We took into account the tariff price. We look into account the clean energy position and what benefit best to the clients. At the end of the day, it's the impact that we are looking for rather than just the sexiness of the design. So the impact matters from what you are collecting the data. So when you do that well and you plan it well, by design, the carbon will be mitigated. Right? So this is, I think, last two slides to look at if you got the data correct. I think you can able to, get it proven. So from cost center to competitive advantage, this is what we're trying to achieve. And the whole idea of data collection, that you have, the design is done correctly, then you can prove it accordingly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Azhar, for highlighting the role of data, that is trustworthy data, in advancing decarbonization. Next, we turn to AI-powered solar diagnostics, including performance optimization and cybersecurity considerations. Please welcome from Nota Renewable Energy, Philippine Country Representative and Senag Solar Co-founder and Chief Executive Officer, Daisy Marquez.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I speak in behalf of Norbert, who can't be here. Norbert Taphorn is from Germany. Okay. Okay, so this is just a background of Nota, and you can see that we work from project development to project financing, project implementation, sale of renewable energy components, and finally, consulting. Okay. Right now, millions of solar panels around the globe are quietly fueling clean energy transition. But as we scale at an unprecedented pace, we face a silent triple threat: hidden efficiency losses, unexpected hardware degradation, and an increasingly sophisticated cyber landscape targeting RE's most vulnerable nodes, our inverters. The reality is that yesterday's manual check cannot protect tomorrow's infrastructure. Today, AI-powered diagnostics are no longer just operational luxury, but our frontline defense to maximize performance, secure our hardware, and build an unshakable cyber-resilient grid at scale. In the utility-scale energy sector, AI-powered solar diagnostics are an absolute necessity. A single modern solar farm contains hundreds of thousands of PVs, and relying on technicians to walk the fields with handheld tools to find a broken wire or a cracked panel is virtually impossible. And here are some of the AI-powered tools currently in use. Drone thermography. Drones fly autonomous grid patterns over solar farms, capturing thermal images. AI models analyze these images in real time because failing components resist electrical current and they heat up. The AI instantly flags these hotspots and then diagnoses what is the cause. Could it be a single hot square indicating a cracked or dead cell, a whole heated row indicating a bypass diode failure, or a patchy irregular heat signature indicating soiling from dust or bird droppings? And then we have GPS tagging. The AI then automatically cross-references the image with the drone's GPS data, pinning the exact table and panel number. It then auto-generates a maintenance ticket so a technician can walk straight to the exact faulty panel. And then, of course, we have advanced imaging with electroluminescence imaging, which essentially is an X-ray for solar panels that scans for microscopic cracks or manufacturing flaws before they grow large enough to destroy the panel's output. SCADA and time series data analytics is what every major farm you can see in every major solar farm with a system logging electrical data every second. AI acts as a digital detective, analyzing these massive oceans of data to identify string anomalies through deviations in outputs and analyzing inverter health. At the end of the day, what is based on studies, the global ROI impact is 70% reduction in total equipment breakdowns, 25% lower O&M costs, and up to 25% increase in overall energy productivity as was shown by the study of the World Economic Forum. AI diagnostics at residential and commercial rooftop solar is a massive growing market. Australia serves as an example, or an outstanding example, of how scale in renewables can be achieved even at the rooftop level. 1 in every 3 homes in Australia has a solar system. 2025 year-end data showed 4.2 million homes with solar installations, regularly providing between 12 to 25% of the total national energy generation during peak periods. These capacities are acknowledged to have reduced grid stress during the last summer, when daytime peak demand were supplied from rooftop solar. While the physics of solar panel remains identical, the operational challenges of a rooftop system are very different from a flat, massive utility field. Instead of searching for faulty panel amongst hundreds of thousands, rooftop AI is focused on shading geometry, varying roof pitches, local grid interactions, and accessible consumer tracking. Let's look at pre-installation design as being critical, and AI comes to the fore. Before a single panel is even bolted to a roof, AI is used to diagnose the properties' solar viability. Platforms use machine learning to build highly accurate 3D models, and I've seen models wherein, as I'm sitting there, in 5 minutes, they've already created a panel layout for a building. Okay. And then we have module-level diagnostics through microinverters and optimizers, which provide real-time data for each panel. Because the AI tracks each individual panel's daily output curve, it can diagnose specific issues remotely, such as soiling alert or single panel failure. At larger CNI installations, metered drones perform diagnostic work, eliminating the need to perform work on rooftops, thereby reducing rooftop safety hazards. Now, inverters are the most common point of failure on a solar farm. AI analyzes historical inverter behavior like temperature spikes, minor voltage sags, and cooling fan speeds to predict an inverter blowout, giving legroom for early swap way before system output begins to dip. Solar performance improves with AI-enabled predictive operations, continuous monitoring and anomaly detection, automated analytics, predictive maintenance, and automated O&M scheduling. In short, AI provides a platform for unified asset management. Now, perhaps the most interesting development in RE is the increasing integration of battery energy storage system, or BESS. Integrating BESS completely transforms the solar equation. Solar is variable. Batteries turn that variability into a controllable asset. Batteries are complex, highly volatile chemical systems. If you overcharge them, they degrade. If they get too hot, they risk catastrophic fires. While AI diagnostics supports protection and longevity of the hardware, the greater opportunity lies in financial gains that can be realized through AI. In RE systems with BESS, AI transitions from asset management or hardware protection and optimization to profit optimization. Through arbitrage, a utility battery farm makes money by buying cheap solar power during the day and selling it back to the grid when prices skyrocket, usually in the evening. AI diagnostics continually cross-reference weather forecasts, historical grid demand, and real-time energy pricing. It decides down to the millisecond when to charge the batteries from the solar array or even from the grid to capture gray energy, when to hold power and when to dump it into the grid for maximum profit. At the rooftop scale, the battery is usually a slick box mounted in a garage or an outdoor small container. Here, AI diagnostics are scaled to focus on facility budget optimization, emergency backup, and smart homes orchestration. The opportunity window, however, for rooftop battery AI is in the concept of virtual power plant, which was touched upon earlier by Arun. Instead of one facility battery acting alone, utility companies use AI to link thousands of homes together into a virtual power plant. And when the local grid is stressed, pretty much like when you have a record heat wave, the utility's centralized AI pings all the rooftop batteries in the network. It diagnoses which facilities have extra power to spare and coordinates a micro discharge from thousands of systems simultaneously, thus stabilizing the local grid with owners earning credits on their bills. That's energy resilience powered from the grassroots. Australia, again, leads in this territory through its recently launched VPP program. Let's just iterate all AI focus in BESS, integrated solar power plants, or large scale, as you can see there. As solar platforms integrate more AI, automation, and cloud connectivity, they shift from isolated hardware arrays into highly complex cyber-physical systems. This transition significantly expands the attack surface, creating unique vulnerabilities that nation-state actors and cybercrimes can exploit. Software-driven components like inverters, optimizers, battery management, and energy management systems are prone to cybersecurity risks. Today, the EU is moving towards stricter cybersecurity requirements and funding restrictions for Chinese-made solar inverters, reflecting growing concerns over supply chain security, remote access risk, and critical infrastructure protection. There is obviously unquestionable value to AI in RE, but we all share the concern that AI-powered technologies are fraught with dangers and risks that need to be managed. At the moment, it is pretty much, in our case, buyer beware. In this context, the best recourse is to lean towards trusted brands. And we know, fortunately, who the trusted brands are. All right, to wrap it all, here are the key takeaways in terms of AI integration on renewable energy. But to summarize, AI is not just a technology trend. It is a strategic advantage to the RE sector, driving efficiency, resilience, and sustainability at every stage of the value chain. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Daisy, for giving us a view on solar asset management using AI. Our final keynote will explore financing sustainable data centers, a critical issue as AI infrastructure expands rapidly across the region. Please welcome from Sumitomo Matsui Banking Corporation, Chair for Public Sector, Satya Ramamurthy.
Well, I'm standing between you and a nice evening, so let me try and keep this as short as I can. First of all, I will have to indulge you to change your frame of reference from all the very exciting technical stuff you've been listening to a rather dull and boring topic, which is financing. So, and of course, it's really a pleasure to be here, to be almost like the oddball among these esteemed technical colleagues. My job is really to talk about financing a very important infrastructure component of the AI revolution, which is data centers. And last year in May, we at SMBC had catalyzed a very important discussion at Ecosperity in Singapore on a roundtable on AI, energy, and water. And in that roundtable, we really had the entire ecosystem of players, from semicon manufacturers to players in developing data centers, to operators, and to the finance industry, investors, and so on. And we launched a report called Enabling a Sustainable AI Future. And that report, you can see, can be found on Temasek's Ecosperity website. But if you want a link, please ask me. IEA's latest report on AI and energy has actually laid out that the largest tech companies are really contributing to a surge in capex, which exceeded 400 billion. And you would see some of them are raising, selling shares to raise the capital required to support it in billions of dollars. And this is expected to jump by 75% in 2026. Huge numbers are being talked about. But while AI is scaling exponentially, of course, resources like energy, water, and capital are limited. Well, you can say energy is renewable and is not, but you still need the components which are finite. So financial institutions have a very important role in this regard. And not just as providers of capital, but really as architects of sustainable growth. So we do have to bear that mantle quite importantly. And what has changed? The financing of data centers in the last 5 to 7 years has changed significantly compared to, say, a decade ago. And these are really driven by three factors. One is, explosive cloud and AI demand. And you know for a fact, you use ChatGPT or other powerful tools all the time. That the back end of that in terms of energy use is significant. And second, as a result of all this, a need for much larger pools of capital. And now we are talking about campuses which require, $20 billion and above in capital. And together with all this, the desire to reduce the weighted average cost of capital. Now, we at SMBC have had the privilege of being involved in more than 30 DC financings across APAC in acquisitions, greenfield, and portfolio financing over the last several years. And we're seeing a lot of interesting and innovative structures. So let me talk about three big innovations that have happened in the last 5 to 7 years. First, the shift from real estate financing to infra financing. What was once a largely real estate and project finance asset class has evolved into a strategic infrastructure sector. So while most of the 2010s decade, lenders viewed data centers as commercial real estate with technology risk. But now they are viewed as critical infrastructure. So what has this done? Enabled access to larger pools of capital with infrastructure funds, sovereign wealth funds, pension funds, private credit and capital markets, all jumping into the fray to finance this. And some of these players have long-term horizons, so they're happy to bet for the long term. And thirdly, they require lower returns than your typical lenders and investors. And so this has enabled financing multi-billion-dollar campuses. Second, and more importantly, the biggest innovation is hyperscaler pre-leasing. Now this has enabled banks to really ramp up and lend a lot more. Previously, banks relied on historical occupancy, tenant diversification, and market demand studies. But now, if a hyperscaler comes in and says, I'll buy out 10 to 20 years of capacity, then for a bank, it's good because these players' balance sheets are solid and they can afford it. So this has resulted in data centers becoming increasingly availability-based projects or like a power plant with a PPA. So no different. And so increased leverage and of course, reduced financing cost. And lastly, and of course, very importantly, I've got only 3 minutes. I don't know how that happened, but it's okay. I think you shortened the time for everybody. The growing role of sustainable finance in this asset class. SMBC, like many other banks, have committed to sustainable finance, and we have a 50 trillion yen commitment by 2030, very significant. And global electricity demand from data centers, based on an IEA report, is expected to more than double to grow by more than double to 945 terawatt hours by 2030. Now this is roughly Japan's total energy consumption today. So just imagine. And with the growth of AI DCs, this is going to turbocharge even further. So obviously, therefore, DCs as an asset class present a very good opportunity for sustainable finance if done properly. And what have operators begun to do? Finance them with sustainability-linked loans, green bonds, and renewable energy-backed financing. The financing is typically linked to renewable energy procurement, power usage effectiveness improvements or meeting certain targets, or carbon intensity reduction pathways. Now, these are typically what you would see in many of these agreements. And this has therefore expanded the investor universe and lowered financing costs. I wanted to spend a bit of time on the examples, but I've got 1 minute, 22 seconds. So I was going to say 5 or 6, but we can talk about it in the panel. The first and very important one I want to talk about is AirTrunk's very interesting Singapore data center green loan, and with a future sustainability linked loan conversion. This is interesting because it starts as a green loan, but it has the option to convert into a sustainability linked loan later. The facility includes secured senior term debt and capex facilities and is aligned to the Singapore Asia taxonomy. But what does it do? It takes a use of proceeds compliance at financial close, and then moves on to KPI-linked pricing once the asset is operational. The second one is also AirTrunks, which SMBC was proud to be involved in, is a platform-wide financing, which is sustainability linked. Here you combine green loans and SLLs across multiple jurisdictions and assets. So it's obviously a very important innovation because we're working using margin adjustments into SLL financing and also directed margin incentives towards social impact fund and disaster relief. And the innovation here is that most green DC financings are asset specific. This is actually across regional hyperscale business with a platform level sustainability ratchet. So very interesting. And the third one, which is in emerging markets, which I'll talk about, is Princeton Digital Group's green loan for the AI-ready Johor campus and the green loan for a Singapore data center. So the advantage here is these are asset-level green loans, which is tied to a high-density AI infrastructure. And again, this is a great template for emerging markets, where green loan eligibility supports financing for AI-ready capacity, where power intensity is high and sustainability scrutiny is rising. Let me conclude. Please give me a couple of, at least a minute, yeah? Nearly all major data center operators have been active in green use of proceeds format financing to demonstrate their efforts to maximize energy efficiency through a low PUE. In particular, green bonds and green loans have been prominently used to finance new data centers, as well as refinance existing buildings. The entire capex relating to a new DC has frequently been characterized as a green based on energy efficiency of the building and its IT infrastructure, most often on an as designed or operating PUE below 1.5. Certain operators have transactions with margin adjustments tied to sustainability linked metrics such as GHG emissions, operating PUE, operating water usage efficiency. And there these are margins actually linked. There's a second party opinion at the start and there's a verification at the end. All of these are on the basis of a green, some kind of a framework which is agreed and often aligned to a loan market association principles. As we look ahead, we're likely to see even more innovation with the emergence of large AI DC campuses, like the Meta Google deals that you would have seen in the market, significant ones, which will increasingly take an ecosystem approach. So my colleagues in IBM and the lady from Nota talked about ecosystem grid and so on. Now we're talking about ecosystem AI, where renewable power, DC capex, grid upgrades, water efficiency, heat reuse, and social impact is bundled into one bankable structure. And that's at one end. But at the other end, we are seeing increasingly emergence of product innovations through mechanisms like financing of GPU-backed infrastructure and compute as a service contracts. So two very different types of innovation. But the point is, the future is one way or the other going to be very exciting. Thank you.
Indeed, we're going to the exciting part. But before that, thank you, Satya, for shedding light on innovative financing approaches. We now move to our panel discussion. From pilots to scale, overcoming barriers to accelerate AI adoption in Asia's energy sector. This session will bring together our speakers to discuss how to move from isolated use cases to broader system-wide adoption. Moderating the discussion is Bird and Bird partner and Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore Council member Sandra Sia. May I invite our moderator and all panelists to the stage. May I also invite Jamila Amadeo, Aaron Biswas, Azhar Othman, Daisy Marquez, and Satya Ramamurthy. Sandra, over to you.
Okay, it seems to work. So this is the last mile, everyone. And you know what? We've saved the best for the last. So thanks very much for staying the course. I think our panelists require no introduction. So I'm just going to, very quickly tell you what's the thrust of our panel today. So we are not going to rehash what has been spoken earlier by all our panelists, but really we are going to be debating how we are going to get results. What are the impediments in the way, and what's the situation on the ground? So I'm going to grill them for this topic. Because we are in a bit of a rush, actually I have to commend all my panelists. The feeling of cramming a whale shark into a seashell, that was what they did. It's a lot of information just now to be put into a very short amount of time. And I think we should start with some encouragement. Can we give them a round of applause first? Thank you very much. Thank you. So we'll start with the questions, and I have some very useful questions from the floor. So, Jamila, you have given us some stunning, not so good statistics. So it has been reported by McKinsey. I was going to change it. That 71% of the companies struggle to scale AI pilots into production. And this creates a very expensive bottleneck known as the pilot to production gap, or the last mile problem. What appears to be the main challenge of AI pilots in the energy sector failing to reach production? I think I'll address the question to you and to Daisy.
Thank you for this question. It is a shocking number, right? 71% fails. And based on the practice that, pilots, when they're controlled, everybody, the board, the project manager, they're all keeping an eye on it. They monitor the results. However, in order for it to be adopted, you need to have the full scale, the ecosystem that was mentioned earlier, starting with a business strategy. I think the biggest thing is planning it out before being integrated and scaled up from the pilot to a full scale. The biggest issue is lack of vision, I would say. And if the vision is not there, then it's really hard to be successful in scaling up.
Thank you. And Daisy, some insights on that?
We started to introduce how to charge charging of electricity using, at that time, what do you call this? Prepaid system. And I was doing that with my German partners. Essentially, it failed. We tried, but at the end of the day, there was no funding. We needed people to, to realize and to pursue the projects to completion. That didn't happen. I mean, at the end of the day, the entrepreneur puts money, his own money, and realizes that it's not enough. So from my experience, it really has been funding, which was the constraint.
That's two different spectrum, right? From the visionary part all the way down to the dollars and cents. And on the other angle, so we are going to go through all the problems first and then try to solve it if possible, or at least walk out with an idea of what can be done. In terms of AI adoption risk, so it's not, it's not just about pilots not coming online, but AI adoption risk. It appears that AI adoption risk now outweighs almost concerns about economic downturn, which is 48%, and supply chain issues, 43% risk. So what are the key AI-related risks that organizations should address when they're adopting AI in the energy sector? And how do you think utilities can build trust in AI while accelerating the use of AI? Because you have seen how useful AI is, right? So what are the AI adoption risks? I'm going to ask Azahar to address this, and maybe Jamila, you can jump in again.
All right. In all fairness, I think AI is a very powerful tool. I think the key point is that because I was proposing to the parliament, I'm a nominated member of parliament. So in one of the motion, I suggested to have a microgrid in Singapore, apart from the main grid, right? And I use AI to generate my speech, all right? And of course, if you look at the prompt you give for the AI to generate a certain kind of design or infrastructure, they use what you are. The AI will use whatever given to the software to generate, right? And if you are not experienced, you were not able to capture. Their recommendation may have certain skewed in terms of the information they have. So it is very important for human to have that key knowledge beyond to be able to lead and prompt AI carefully. In fairness, I would say like this: when you have so much knowledge, so much understanding, so much experience, you come up with wisdom, which AI come up with facts. So I think that's where the risk must be, mitigated in the right manner. AI will guide you, or I will do a recommendation, but I think at the end of the day, the human must make a decision, of course, in that sense. So these are some of the examples that I see how this is being done. But on a technical term, if it's engineering value, AI can, of course, compute accordingly. On a wisdom value, it is something that we need to, of course, evaluate. Thank you.
And I would add that I think it was a unanimous answer. The governance was a big issue, even in the survey of participants of ASAF. That's something that needs to be in place. And in the absence of standards, corporate governance is something that needs to be discussed and adopted, adjusted to the conditions when the companies are integrating AI.
I would think it would take quite a lot of foresight, before real regulations and policies come online in order for a company to put that in force. But again, it's a chicken and egg. If you do not have some level of governance at a corporate level, I think it's really very hard to even get the project going and gain confidence and start using it. So I think, thank you so much for your insights. Now we'll come back to the money. Yeah. In terms of scaling AI, I think it's quite clear that it requires significant amount of upfront capital. And the business case, I would say, is not always straightforward or clear-cut. Someone has to explain to us why it's not always straightforward and clear-cut. So I'm going to ask Satya and Azaha again, what sort of financing structures are you seeing in the market which are proving most effective at de-risking the AI investment in this sector? And where should the investment go to unlock AI value?
That's a very, very good question. That's a $20 billion question because that's what ADB is going to put for digital infrastructure. So I think it's complex because you have to look at the entire ecosystem of digital infrastructure, understand where there's market failure and where business models can work. So let me explain. If you look at broadband connectivity, that you would have thought that's a basic thing. But even today, there's lots of areas where you don't have that level of connectivity relative to the cost.
Excellent example.
So
yes.
there is to some extent actually market failure because no private operator will go and build out that infrastructure and hope to make a return. There's a role for governments, multilaterals maybe to some extent to come in and fix that. Because if you don't fix that, you then don't have the demand creation that's required to justify more wider use of the outputs of that infrastructure that you're building through the DCs and through all of the applications that come as a result of that. So that's one example. The other example is the subsea cables. People forgot that what was built out during the dot-com boom, the subsea cables, all those companies went bust, but all the cables came back to life and built the whole internet as we know it today. So imagine, again, today as we sit here in Philippines, there's a need for a lot more subsea cable capacity in order to charge the growth of new DCs in this country, right? Now, financiers like us will be very cautious about what happens in relation to isolated projects on DCs without these enabling infrastructure.
Yes.
So we'll be very comfortable financing based on a offtake and so on. But the players who are going to be sitting there and developing this will be very concerned about the enabling infrastructure.
Yeah, I love that. It's like Lego, right? You need to get the basics right and have the enabling infrastructure. So Azaha, as a system integrator who's been in the market for a long time, where are the financing gaps for you in your personal experience when you're using all this AI?
Okay. If you don't mind, because Arun actually showed 3 case study of AI, and I want to actually pass to the experts the question that you had before about the advantage and the risk of AI. Maybe Arun, you can share that part, because I would love to hear your comment as well. Then I will answer.
Sure.
From
Yeah, I pass the popcorn. Yes,
right.
Arun.
I think the points mentioned about AI risk are quite real, but the key thing to keep in mind is that I think Jamila mentioned governance. Governance is the best possible answer to tackle AI risks, and you need to think about governance in 3 layers. First is the basic technical governance. How are you governing the model? Because as you said, Azhar, AI is not reliable always. It is probabilistic. So you need to control AI, but you can't directly control it. You control it through the data, the models, etc. So the technical governance layer is important. And I'll come to the middle layer later. The top layer is your AI policies, your ethics, your regulation, etc., and so on. The part which people often forget is the operational layer. What we forget is that when we are implementing AI systems, we are implementing it in workflows, and you need to build governance along those workflows, because AI is going to make decisions on your behalf. So you need to be very clear what are the parameters you're giving AI, also who you're going to hold accountable at the end of the day for AI. And you can't just leave it at writing policies and all that. You have to implement it, which means it gets codified. So it has, so that there is assurance that it's actually happening. It's just sitting in some book or somewhere. So these 3 layers of governance are becoming very important. And more as AI becomes agentic and autonomous and takes its own decisions, these things have to be very carefully implemented.
Right, I come back to your point. In terms of the amount of project we have done, and I share with you, in terms of financial assistance, we are not shortage of that. I think we all can see that. We are shortage of real good investable projects. I think that's critical. That come back to trust. Is the project trustworthy to do? Is the people that we do the project trustworthy to do? So we've done a lot of projects, and I can tell you, there's some projects we had difficulty, because their trust was broken. I don't want to say which country. And some projects we didn't take because it was not planned well, So at the end of the day, financing plays a part. More importantly, identifying project that is investable, that has good impact. I think that's the strong point that you have to be very careful and take into consideration.
Then I would also request ADB to be more, I guess, with ADB investing in a project, I think it's like a stamp of approval or a stamp of integrity that gives, I think, the business community, the banks and other finances a lot more confidence. So yeah, thank you very much. That was a very good answer. I actually have a lot of questions, but I've received really interesting questions and I cannot but help ask them. So this one is I actually remembered it because this has hung. The question came from the floor and it goes like this. It says that we actually, we went digital in order to reduce our reliance on fuel. But are we now heavily relying on tech instead? Are we now over-relying on tech? I think that's such a, it's a wonderful question. And I think it gives our panelists, so they haven't been warned. And I'm going to pick on Daisy to start. Yep. It's a question from the floor.
Yeah. Well, it's like choosing between one or the other evil. So, yes, as a consumer, I would look at it like that. I think but we cannot not do it. We cannot not do it because there are so many other benefits that come out of whatever it is that we're going to go into that AI helps us with. There are many inefficiencies, especially in the energy sector. There are many inefficiencies. There are many disconnections that if we adopt AI and integrate AI, it would really bring all of these sectors together and all of these concerns together. So it's a necessary evil,
Okay.
in my point.
Very good. Anyone, Satya wants to offer an answer?
I'm an optimist. In fact, I said it in another meeting just a short while ago. And I believe that while I agree with the thrust of that question, we have forgotten what happened during COVID. The whole ESG movement actually started when skies became clean during COVID. And the world functioned only because of the digital highways, right? So my view is, I think with enough governance, as was mentioned earlier, with enough political will, with enough attention from the ground, like what our participant has asked, we will get to a point where the energy intensity of AI will keep coming down, and there will be an LED moment for AI, so to speak, with significant reduction relative to the benefits that it's going to deliver. Of course, forget about all of other social and the risk aspects of it. But from the energy point of view, I'm confident that a combination of all these factors and sustainable finance will deliver the right outcomes.
Thank you. And I would just say, maybe repeat again what Azhar said, keep human in the loop in the energy sector. It's energy security, it's national security, and humans should be in charge of making decisions. So with that, I close.
Thank you. That was a good question, wasn't it? I think I just have one final question. And of course, we must all end on a really hopeful note. We have how many seconds left? I can't see. No second left. Well, I think we have to call it to a close then and not hold you back. So, dear audience, thanks so much for your kind attention, for staying back. And please give my wonderful panelists a round of applause. And thank you very much. And I'll return the evening to you. Thanks very much again. Thank you.